It's that time for a new episode of the Peak Signing Agents podcast. Thanks for tuning in. My name's Derek Van Otten. You can call me DVO. I am the host, and I'm helping you become the best notary and signing agent that you can possibly be. So I hope this brings you value because we're talking about a form that I see a lot of times where notaries struggle knowing what to do with said form. So let's talk about it. I actually have it printed out here, and this is a real estate addendum. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Real estate addendums. I'll explain what a real estate addendum is and what should be done with it as notaries and signing agents. So when someone is buying or selling a home, there are contracts that are be drafting up by the real estate agent. So both the buyer's real estate agent and the seller's real estate agent are drafting up contracts. These are the contracts with the sale price and maybe like the bill of sale, what's included. Are they leaving the refrigerator, the microwave, the stove? Are these washers and dryers? Are these what's included in the contract? Well, those contracts are drafted up and signed by all parties. Well, an addendum is attached to the contract, and there could be a change. Maybe the sales price has changed. Maybe something is being left behind. Let's just say a real life example I've experienced is the sellers had a golf simulator in the basement. And the buyers were thinking, we would really like that golf simulator and you don't have to move it if you want to leave it. And that became part of the contract. It changed the price of the home, and that's what and it's leaving behind that simulator. So that is where an addendum comes in. Something has changed. I just did one yesterday where the real estate agent is discounting their fee for any differences. So for example, let's just say, for example, the buyer had to bring to close $9,200. Well, when the buyer saw, he's like, "Wait, I only thought I had to bring $9,000. That's the cashier's check I gave you." And the real estate agent said, "Yeah, that's what the addendum is for. I put an extra $300 padding in there from my commission. So basically, the $200 difference that you still owe is going to come out of that $300 that I put in there as part of the addendum." Anyway, these are just some examples of what an addendum is and what might be in an addendum, but basically it's any changes to the contract. And it'll be drafted up by the real estate agent, and they'll put in there the stipulation. What is it? Maybe it's the closing date. Hey, I know we were planning on closing on Monday. We are now planning on closing on the Friday after, the end of the week instead of the beginning of the week. That would be an addendum. That's going to change some things. So now the closing date is being moved from Monday to Friday of the week. So the real estate agent who's representing writes that in here. That's going to be in the contract addendum. Okay, they're going to make that change. Look at it like this. We have the deed of trust or the mortgage, depending where you're at, in a refi or buyer package, and there are riders. Right? Maybe there's a planned unit development rider, a condo rider, a VA rider. That's like in addition to the deed. Well, that's what an addendum is. It's an addition to the contracts. Almost like a change. So the agent writes in there what is being, what's going to be changed or modified or anything like that to the contract. The agent writes that in there. Well, the buyer or seller whose agent wrote that in there, the change or the modification, well, that buyer or seller is going to sign saying, yes, I am agreeing. They're going to sign whoever's agent wrote this addendum, because it could be from either party. Any changes can be made from either party, by the way. Whoever's agent wrote that buyer or seller is going to sign and date it, and they're going to mark it. Are they the buyer or the seller? So whoever's agent wrote that, the buyer or seller is going to sign immediately below it. Then it goes to the other party. So let's just use some examples. Let's just say it's the buyer's agent. They're changing the closing date. The closing date is no longer Monday the 1st. It is going to be Friday the 5th. That's the closing date now. So the buyer's agent wrote that in there. Closing date is changed from Monday the 1st to Friday the 5th. Well, the buyer immediately will sign and date that. And they'll mark that they are the buyer. So it's the buyer who is making this addendum. The buyer and the buyer's agent is making this addendum. Well, then below that, the seller can either accept it or counter offer it. So they can accept it. So they would mark acceptance by the seller, and they'll sign and date it saying, yep, we accept the fact that we are now moving the closing date from Monday the 1st to Friday the 5th. Or they can counter it and say, well, we are going to say, instead of Monday the 1st, Wednesday the 3rd. We're going to counter that. And now it's going to go back and forth. The agents are going to talk. They're going to write up new contracts. They're going to make up new addendums. They are going to negotiate. But these addendums are usually going to be signed or electronically signed. Now, maybe they didn't get it in time. They're traveling. They didn't get to sign this. They didn't have access to their email, so they didn't DocuSign it. Or they said they would DocuSign it, and they kept forgetting to DocuSign it. So now it's time for closing. You, the notary or signing agent, are given the documents. And the agent is saying, well, you know what? Before they sign everything, please send this to the notary and make sure that they get this addendum signed. Or, hey, since you're going to go get all this paperwork signed anyway, please send this as well to the notary that they can print this out and have the buyer or seller sign this addendum. Now, again, sometimes you look at it and you're like, wait, what is this for? I don't know. I see the terms that are being adjusted or changed, but I'm not sure where the signer is going to be signing. And each addendum will have a number. Addendum number 1, addendum number 2, 3, 4, and it just goes right in sequential order if there's any new changes being done. But if the signer or you as the notary look at this addendum and think, I don't know who signs this, well, again, number 1, their agent will have written in there. So you can read that and say, okay, signer, is this from you and your agent? Or is this from the other party and their agent? Okay, great. So if this is from you and your agent, this addendum, then you're going to sign right underneath it, and you're going to sign and date, and you're going to mark if you're the buyer or seller. Or if, okay, this is the other party and their agent wrote this, then you will go to the bottom and you will either accept this or counter offer this. So you're going to mark accept as a buyer or seller, and then sign and date and put the time on it. If they are not sure, like, oh, I'm not sure. I remember we talked about it, but I'm not sure if that was my agent's suggestion or the other agent's suggestion. Well, then let's do this. Let's call your agent. So call their agent then. If you have any other questions and you're like, wait, whose party is this? I'm walking you through it. Read it. Hopefully they know if this is from them or the other party. But if they are not 100% sure, then call their agent and say, hey, addendum number 2, addendum number 3, whatever it says on top, is this us or is this the other party? Now, again, if whoever wrote the contract, whoever wrote this addendum, to the contract, whoever wrote this, the buyer or seller will immediately sign and date underneath it. If it's the other party's agent that wrote it, then they will go to the bottom section and they will either accept it or counter offer it. Okay, that is how you handle real estate addendums in the package that you get. And that's, if you're not sure who wrote it, that's how you handle that too. Call their agent. Hopefully the person you meet with knows whose party it is, but if they're not sure, call their agent. And that's who you contact. Don't call the signings. You don't need to call the signing service. You don't need to call the title company because neither party might not know either. So call the real estate agent to get your answer. All right, I hope that helps. Keep being a peak signing agent. Keep doing awesome. And if this helps you and other things that I provide on this YouTube channel and podcast helps you, please subscribe and share it with anyone else that you think can benefit from it so that other people can become peak signing agents like yourself and be successful. And I'll talk to you on the next episode. Bye.